and it's episode 6. Please subscribe and like our channel. Okay, you've got some freedom, time of your own, but can you stay out of trouble? At least don't let the parents find out. And who among us hasn't tested the limits? These teens are 30 miles away from 2 automotive innovators. One's going to give us the Mustang, full of power and style. The other guy is going to give us the cheapest body they have with the biggest engine they can find. You got it, Lee Iacocca and John DeLorean. Question number 6. What don't the parents know? If I told you I never did anything wrong as a teenager, I would be lying. That's not what this is all about. Because if that were true, you wouldn't have had to call the police to get me out of an elevator. You wouldn't have had to call the Ford garage to come and tow our car away again for repair. So there's my true confession. Let's find out if they'll give us theirs. Hello? Is anybody out there? They used to go to parties without their parents knowing, and they called them grassers.
Grassers. Oh, yeah.
Grassers.
Grassers?
Grassers.
Grassers.
I told well, we were there.
I never went to any.
Grassers. How deceptive were you guys as teenagers? Because I know what a field party is from Iowa.
We call them grassers. Okay. And around us there are a lot of farmland. I'm 16 and my dad has a liquor license and said, I'm going to, I was up front, I said, I'm going to go to this grasser, it's on 11 Mile and blah, blah, blah. He said, yeah. And I said, I want to buy some vodka. He said, okay. See, I said, a pint of Mohawk, $1.31. And I said, in a Nesbitt pop, Nesbitt orange. Well, you mix them.
I know you do,
like
but
a screwdriver.
I'd be vomiting by
Yeah.
then.
So he says, well, just drive slow when you come home. So we didn't have that many grassers, but they were there. Nobody was ever arrested that I know of. But what we did have, the Wall Lake Casino. And we would go there, coat and tie, and we would dance, glide. Rock and roll bands came in.
Did you see anyone famous?
How about Stevie Wonder? But it was rock and roll, and he was on the edge of not rock and roll, but more of his own sound. Good Lord!
So as teenagers, you would go to the city?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was it like to say, we're going into the city?
To who?
To your parents?
Oh, get your car and drive away.
Oh, okay.
I wouldn't say a word.
Oh, okay. So this is on the down low.
No, they didn't care.
Oh, what a hoot.
No, they had 5 kids, grocery store. You know, they're open 7 days a week.
What about your friends? Did they say, okay, pick me up on 10 Mile?
Oh, yeah.
And
There was no booze.
I know, but still, you're not supposed to necessarily leave town.
Yeah, we did.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. My dad always had a panel truck. I probably had maybe 6 or 7 people in the back. We'd drive to Club 182 in Livonia. We'd drive to Brighton. I mean, wherever.
One of the guys said they used to go to parties without their parents knowing, and they called them grassers.
Oh, yeah, okay. Well, that definitely was a thing. So the grassers were parties out in a field. You know, the word would spread by word of mouth, and people would go there in their car, maybe have a small bonfire, but basically all stand around drinking beer and.
Right.
Now, I never went to any grassers in South Lyon.
Oh, okay.
However, with my 4-H friends, I went with him to a grasser. What they would do is remember those little bottles of Coke? They'd pour off the little bit of the Coke and then fill it with sloe gin.
Oh, God.
So you can imagine how sweet that was. So I, at this grasser, drank 4 Cokes with sloe gin. And by the end, I was pretty wasted. So we went back to Jeff's house. I called my mom and said, I'm really tired. I'm just going to spend the night here and, come home tomorrow. And she said, okay. So I did. I slept on their couch. I knew his parents, and they were fine with it, and you know, I mean,
Like we used to have parties in farmers' fields,
Oh yeah.
and like somebody
Yeah, they
called.
call them grassers.
Oh,
Out here, that was going on. Yeah, and of course there wasn't social media back then, so the word just got passed on from one person. Hey, we're meeting, and you know, it was usually just a grass field, hay field, whatever, a farmer's field, and it would be back. What I remember, the one field that was pretty popular. If you go down 9 Mile west, and a trail going up through the woods. Well, that was the beauty of it, because you drive through the woods, and then all of a sudden here's this big field. So that was a very popular spot. Well, me and my buddies, we were still in high school, and there was a kegger right over here between Fish Lake and Silver Lake. It was pretty much just dirt. I think it was an old gravel pit maybe at one time. So we're all in there, and all of a sudden here comes a policeman. And there must have been, like you said, maybe 10 cars. So they rounded up everybody they could catch. A lot of them got away. So I was one of them. So they took us. They took us to the police station in Green Oak, and pretty much just gave us the right. I mean, just reamed us for doing this, and you know, we're going to tell your parents. And they, you know, the scare thing. But they let us go. But they did take our beer.
yeah.
But that happened a few times. Yeah.
Your gang have events that the parents didn't know about. No one's going to hear this. Don't give any names or locations,
I
please.
don't think so. I knew that some people in my class would go out on weekends to what they called grassers out in the field. And I got a funny, I didn't go. I was not allowed to, but I have a funny story about that. I worked at the A&W. I remember as I was car hopping, some fellas in my class said, "Hey Diana, can you get us some empty A&W cups?" I said, "Sure." So I went in and got them, I don't know, like that many empty cups, and I handed them, not a whole sleeve, but you know. So anyway, the next day, oh my gosh, I had to work the next day, and Max Brown had a couple of us gals line up, and he says, "All right, the police were here earlier today, and I want to know which one of you gave out some empty cups, because they were all over the field off 9 Mile. And he's, oh, did I get in trouble?
Yeah, but you didn't know.
No.
But that's how you found out where they were.
Yeah, I fessed up.
Sad to me, they didn't say, "Why don't you come on out?"
yeah, yeah.
Well, they probably did, but I went home.
I found anytime I ever did anything that I wasn't supposed to, my mom found out. She, you know, before I even got home, she knew.
I know.
Right.
I mean, it's called the grapevine.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you
It's
think
called
your
small
parents
town.
aren't calling each other, you're
yeah.
insane.
Yeah. I went with a group over to Ann Arbor after a football game and didn't tell my parents. And we got in a car accident. Not a bad one, but enough that Mom knew about it by the time we got home. Yeah.
Yeah.
Were kids standoffish, or are they? I mean, you all know each other
The
pretty
girls
well.
would dance, the boys not so much. You know, the boys not so much. Yeah, I can remember going to a lot of dances and really not doing much dancing.
Girls on one side, boys on the other.
Yeah, kind of, pretty much.
Yeah. Well, where did everybody hang out? What was after the games and stuff? Where would you go to meet each other?
We had the A&W, of course. That was our only drive-in per se, and people would have their cars and come in to drive in. Same good food. I miss their Coney dogs. People with cars would go up to Brighton or over to Ann Arbor, you know, hang out at some of the other places. We kind of left on the sly if we had to, and you know, would get away with it. I remember one incident where I was in a car and we went off the end of 10 Mile out west of town where Rushton Road comes in. We shot off the end of that about, I don't know how fast, and we were keeping it on the quiet, and of course our parents found out about it. Just missed, there were big oak trees there. We just missed the oak trees, but got in a little trouble for that.
Well, yeah. I mean, who's going to explain the wrecked car?
Yeah, well, and we would have, if we'd have hit the trees, it would have been we were going We play what we call car tag. Two kids
Oh,
you take
God.
off and chase each other around out in
Oh.
the country.
And you said, did you ever sneak out? My cousin Cheryl and I, one time, we had this little Simca. I just turned I was about 16-ish, 17-ish and everything. And Dad had got it for Mom because she was driving school bus. And the horn was under the wheel. So Cheryl and I decided we wanted to, and so we decided we'll sneak out and we'll push the Simca out of the driveway and then go to Jimmy's. Mom will never know. Right. Well, so we sneak out and we do pretty good. We get to the car and Cheryl's going, oh, we're going to get caught, we're going to get caught. And I said, get in the car. And she gets in the car and her knee hits the horn underneath the steering wheel. My mom comes through the door and she says, I'll take an ice cream sundae too.
Really? She let you go?
Stopped at Judy's, asked her after a basketball game, asked her if she could take me home and if I could drive, because I'm 15, I don't have my license, but I'm taking driver's training. So we get in the car, we go past the funeral home, and here's Don Fletcher and Hurley Smith in the police car sitting there watching us. And I said to Judy, what am I gonna do? She said, just keep driving. So we turned left up there behind us. And we get across the tracks and he turns the lights on. So I have to pull over, walks up to the car with the flashlight going, and he says, can I see your license? I said, I have a fishing license. He said, what? So he said, get out of the car. So he gets me out of the car and he pulls out his flashlight and he makes like he's beating me over the head with it. And there's cars driving by and I know they're looking at me and I'm thinking, oh, Don, what are you doing to me? So he finally just put me back in the car and I drove home.
My boyfriend used to race too, but I don't think he ever got caught. They would know when the police were going to be out there.
Tell me what it's like. We'll start with Gretchen. Gretchen, what's it like dating in high school in South Lyon?
Well, everyone knows who you're going to date, you know, a week before or whenever they asked, everyone knows the next day. You know,
Of course.
Yes, we went to dances. The weekends were biggest and brightest and most exciting during the football season. It was a fun time, and we started dating in high school. Secret places to meet up and have that first pop.
One of the guys said they used to go to parties without their parents knowing, and they called them grassers.
Did he tell you where it was located? Yeah, the one that I remember most, going out of New Hudson and going up towards the hill, as they called it. We would go the back route, and we had parties out in fields. It was the Vogelsang property, and we had some big bonfires there, and it was always fun. It was never harmful. There weren't fights, as far as I remember.
That was Billy Bob. We never attracted the cops.
Maybe we were a little tad more secretive.
Like you say, Friday night or whatever, and we used to, not just Friday nights, every night, we'd come uptown and cruise. It was ridiculous. If you stop and think about it, all we did was drive back and forth all night long.
I did the same thing on our main street.
We just went around, we'd go up and down here, but then we'd go around a block, whichever it went around, we'd go around the block and turn around and come back.
And then the girls are in a car doing the same thing, and you're yelling at each other. Yeah, exactly. Well, what about drag racing? Was that gone?
Well, it was a little bit. You know, back in the day, the city ended right at Reynolds Sweet Parkway where the railroad track was. He said they'd be doing 100 miles an hour by the time they were right here. You know, because this was like country at the time.
And then that kind of ended by the time you guys were in high school.
Yeah,
so now you have to soup up your own car.
Right. Yeah, because we're driving cars. We're driving a little bit just a hair more modern, less hot roddy car.
Exactly. Well, what's the size of your class?
It was like high 200s.
Oh, okay, so you're up there.
That we heard many stories of they got pulled over, they had alcohol, but the alcohol got poured out and they were taken home and told their parents, and that's where it went. And
it was more of an accountability thing.
Yes.
I'm going to give you a break.
Fletcher was the one that I remember the name real well.
Right. Down Milford Road, that seemed to be a thing.
8 Mile Road was also.
Oh!
Yeah.
Like where was the run?
Well, on 8 Mile Road there was a culvert that went, I believe that was the end of it, right from Pontiac Trail to the culvert. Yeah. That was a quarter mile. So.
Did you ever test your vehicle?
Yes.
Did you win?
No. What I went up against was one of high school friends, and he Ford with a V8 Interceptor engine in it, which was a Park Rangers, old Park Rangers at Kensington Park, his car. So his car was pretty fast. Chevy 409 was a big car. As a matter of fact, I ended up getting stopped by a policeman that night. And so the story goes on that since I did get stopped, one day I'm at home and the chief of police of South Lyon comes out. He says, "Mike, let's go for a ride." So I said, "Okay." He said, "You drive." And he was in his police car. It was a Chevy 409. It was a 4-speed on the floor. And yeah, so we pulled out and we went down 10 Mile Road. He said, "Pass his car." So I downshifted. And it was a lot more horsepower. So I kind of fishtailed around this car. And I thought, whoa, this really moves. So we got down to the end of 10 Mile. And he says, "Okay, pull in the parking lot here." So I pulled in the parking lot. And he says to me, "Mike," he says, "if anybody wants to drag race, I'll race them. And if they beat me, okay. But if I win, they'll never drive again." So that was how things were kind of done back in the day.
And we used to joke when we were in high school that the world ended at 8 Mile Pontiac Trail because we never ventured out very much. So I found it very easy.
Coming up, how will these farm kids be influenced? What's their style? Is it the college town nearby? Media blasts on television? How about those returning soldiers coming from around the world? And check out that hair. Wow. Talk about big hair. It's coming. Let's see if the dawning of Aquarius is going to hit our small town. Join us next Friday, episode 7. What is your style? Please subscribe and like our channel. See new episodes every Friday, only on YouTube. I've been saying this for a very long time after meeting some people who were no longer able to work. And work is a gift, because there are people who can physically not get a job, mentally no longer can get a job, and sometimes emotionally cannot handle the responsibility of a job. I love to work. I don't care if it's a job that you're going to or a job you take on by yourself. If you are able, don't waste that. Don't waste that. Literally, it's a gift. Just look around you. Some people can't.
Laid the bait in a